Welcome back to another episode of Straight Shooting Sports Talk, and I'm your host, Dujane Bland. And today we're talking AFC West, and we're starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, the abysmal Kansas City Chiefs, who haven't been respectable since Joe Montana. Andy Reid takes over this football team, defensive coordinator Bob Sutton, and they've got a lot of work to do. But first things first, they did seem to shore up the quarterback position by going out and getting Alex Smith. Now, we're going to see what Alex Smith is really made of, whether it was a system thing or has Alex Smith really grown into the quarterback that everybody believes that he is as of today. Now, what they're going to need on this football team is a lot of stuff on the offensive side of the football, but they're going to need some quality guys at the wide receiver position. They have a few. Bo did come back, but these other guys in McCluster, they just haven't been the guys that they need to make plays. Haven't really been a type of receivers that are going to put pressure on defenses. They need to, as every other football team, continue to get better on the offensive side, on that offensive line. Offensive line is going to be the most important part because they do have a running game. They're going to have a solid quarterback. Now it's just going to be a matter of keeping him upright and having guys to throw to. So Andy Reid's got his work cut out for him on the offensive side of the ball, as well as Bob Sutton. Now, on that defensive side of the ball, ever since losing Brandon Carr, they really haven't recovered from that. It didn't look very good. They have a lot of guys who can play slot and nickel, but they're really not having a guy that is a number one top tier corner that you can count on in making plays and stopping the opposing team's number one wide receiver. Now, this is going to be very important for this football team to be able to have some corners that can keep up with quality receivers, especially in this division, being that they take on Peyton Manning in this division. Now, the biggest loss, though, is Javon Belcher. The death of Javon Belcher really left a huge hole in the linebacking core and at that position. And they're definitely going to have to look there as well in this draft to try and bolster that up. We know that with the great front seven, if they can get some guys in the defensive end department, you start getting pressure on offenses. Hey, things start turning around for you and you start getting turnovers and it starts boosting the whole team's morale. So they have to really shore up that front seven on defense. If they can do that, then we'll start to see this team turn around. And I think we all know Andy Reid did an excellent job in Philadelphia. And I think with the right pieces and with time, he would do the same thing here in Kansas City. We go from the 2-14 Kansas City Chiefs to the 4-win Oakland Raiders. Yes, the abysmal Oakland Raiders. I mean, just horrible. They just seem as if they just can't get better. They go get Carson Palmer. He goes to the black hole, gets swallowed by it. No offensive line protection. And he's really not playing that well as a quarterback. So what do? They go and get Matt Flynn. Guy has a lot of potential. He's only been seen a handful of times, but the times he has been seen, he's played pretty well. Now it's funny, Seattle had him, decided to go with Russell Wilson, but now he's here in Oakland. So what can they do here in Oakland to improve? Well, they always can improve, that's for sure. But the wide receiver core is really not one of those areas. They have Darius Hayward-Bay. They have Streeter. They have a lot of guys that can get the job done on the outside and in the slot position. Now, where they need to improve, and that's where every team always wants to improve, is in the offensive line position. A lot of sacks being given up there, not a lot of protection, and not a lot of holes for McFadden to run through. And they absolutely need to improve in that area, and also possibly looking at running back as well. We know they have McFadden, who's had another injury-related season. And then we have some guys behind him who just really haven't gotten the job done. So maybe they might look in later rounds there. But the most important position I think they draft is on the defensive side of the football, the cornerback position. I mean, they've had Huff and other guys that I'm sure you can't even name because they're just that bad. I mean, they're not stopping anybody. And that's really a huge problem for this team. They just can't seem to slow down the offenses at the wide receiver position. I think you're going to see them draft in the first round on the first day a corner. And hey, this draft is deep, but I think they're going to want to get a guy who can start right now and expect to see them to do that on day one. Now, they have some other issues. Linebacker is one of those. Really a core that's not really that great. Doesn't really scare anybody. I think this draft is pretty deep on defense and expect to see them to go in that position. And in the front of this defense, they're old, man. They're like 32 and above. I mean, we're almost talking senior citizens. They have got to get younger on this side of the ball, and they've got to get some speed in order to put pressure on the opposing team's offense. And the fact of the matter is, if you can't stop anybody and your defense is out on the field most of the ball game, and then you turn back and you look at your offense who's giving up sack after sack after sack, it doesn't matter what you have on the outside on offense. It doesn't matter what you have behind you. If you can't protect and you can't stop a soul, you get blown out. And we've seen this Raider team be in games and then get unloaded on because they can't sustain it. So they have a lot of improvements. And with these improvements, we always hope, kind of like, you know, the whole thing with come on Seattle. Well, we're saying come on Oakland, because we expect them to do every year. When you look at this roster, it doesn't look extremely bad, but man, it sure shows that Al Davis completely ran this team into the ground. What can you say? Hopefully they can improve. Well, that's it for our show. We thank you for watching. Please leave your comments at the bottom of our show. We will be keeping the dialogue going. If you have something you'd like to see discussed on this show, shoot us an email at straightshootingst@gmail.com. And as always, subscribe to the show. This is another edition of Straight Shooting Sports Talk.